Now, when I was a kid, now we're talking about life reset, okay? Now, when I was a kid, we moved all the time. Anybody know what it is to move all the time? So we live in different houses in different towns, and we would go to different schools, and I would meet different people. So things in my life were constantly changing, but nothing in my life was actually changing. Okay, hang with me. You guys see what I'm talking about? There were a lot of things that were changing, but there wasn't much that was changing. Okay? Matter of fact, this is just kind of a funny story. That there was a restaurant, and the food was horrible. You guys know the place? It was horrible. And so they come up with this idea to change the name of the restaurant. It was in the same place. They cooked the same food with the same people and served on the same menu. But they changed the name. The food was still nasty. Okay? But see, change that doesn't change anything is not change, right? Okay? So real change isn't just something that's different. Real change is transformative. Transformative, okay? So change is what happens on the inside, not necessarily on the outside. So transformation, my friends, begins here, not here. See, oftentimes when we want things to change, we think all y'all got to straighten out, right? If all y'all straighten out, especially these people. Oh, sorry, I get my right and my left mixed up. Anyway. But see, change begins here. Matter of fact, here's what the Apostle Paul was telling the Christians living in Rome at the time. Romans chapter 12 and verse 1. Here's what he says. Therefore, I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, that you offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. Now, before you get all stupid with that verse, he's not saying, so you want all of this. No, that's not what he's saying, okay? He's talking about your living, breathing, talking, walking around everyday person, your normal life every day, that you offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. Holy means set apart, it's special, it's important, it's rare, has huge value. Holy and pleasing to God, this is your spiritual act of worship. This is how you do it. Then it goes on. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed. How? By the renewing of your mind. Because if nothing changes here, any change out here is not going to last very long. All you'll be doing is moving. Right? So we really want to talk about change, real significant changes. So the living sacrifice is just not a once and done, it's a continual moving forward. Now, I am so glad that you're not who you used to be. Woohoo, yeah, right? But it's even better if you're not who you used to be 6 months ago, because it's something that's supposed to be ongoing, right? Okay, now here's what I want you to know. There are areas in our lives that can actually prevent us from moving forward spiritually. And these same exact areas actually can help us move forward spiritually, depending on how we approach that. So that's what we're talking about, the offering your bodies, your living, breathing, everyday, talking, walking around person. Offer that as a living sacrifice. And so that's a change of ownership. And that's how you live this life that is wholly acceptable, pleasing to God. Okay? Now, so the change of ownership, here's how this works, easy stuff. If I were to borrow $100 from you, first you would be surprised that you had $100. Okay? But if I were to borrow $100 and I would say, thanks, and you would say, well, what are you going to do with that? I'm going to the casino. What? You say, wait a second, that's no, I got a system. Otherwise known as broke. You say, you can't do that. Why can't I do that? You would say, because it's my money. See, here's the thing. So when we're talking about this living sacrifice, we're talking about change of ownership. See, and what happens sometimes is the holy becomes common. And when the holy becomes common, we lose our edge. Anybody know what that's like? Because mundane, tired, like, I don't know. So we lose that edge, that zeal, that fire, right? And so when we lose that, we tend to put our hope in unstable places and just try to move things around a bit. Okay? Now, the problem with putting your hope in unstable places is that that we know that all things can at some point come crashing down, right? Now, when things come crashing down, when we put our hope in something that crashes, it does something to the person on the inside. It messes us up, right? And so we can become critical or cynical or really suspicious or we even can become bitter. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Because something gets on the inside that messes up the person on the outside. Am I talking to anybody yet? Okay? Something gets on the inside that messes the person up on the outside. Now, and so several years ago, I had a buddy of mine, and he was one of those hyper faith people. You know the kind of people talk about where that if there's anything wrong, it's because you don't have enough faith. So you're always the problem, right? So he went on a fishing trip up in the mountains, and while he was there, he drank water from a stream. Well, the boy come back way sick. No, not just feeling bad. I mean, way sick. He was skinny to begin with, and he was losing weight like there wasn't no tomorrow. And because he's one of those hyper faith guys, I would say, "Hey, how you doing?" He goes, "I'm healed." But you look like crap. No, I'm healed. So after a few weeks, he finally relented and went to the doctor. The doctor ran a few tests, asked him a few questions, and here's what the doctor said. When you took your visit to the mountains and you drank water from the stream, a parasite got inside. And so something had got inside that was destroying the man on the outside. Okay? You see where we're going? See, sometimes small things can get inside of us that really messes up and destroy the man on the outside. So that's why, just watch this. It's in Mark chapter 7. Mark just says this so perfectly. Mark chapter 7 and verse 21. He says, from within, out of men's hearts, the inside, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. I think that covers it. Now, some of you guys, this is just a checklist. Got it? So now, when I go through this list, it's not all y'all out there. Here's what he's saying: all of that comes from in here. It's from the inside. Now, when we see this list, and we're going to look at this, and we kind of nod our heads like, yeah, except for one of those things we don't agree with. The one that we wrestle with the most that we think does not apply to us. See, on this list, we look at that stuff, oh, heck yeah, that's wrong. Of course that's wrong. Oh, yeah, that's way wrong. So, I killed a guy for that one. I mean, so we know that it's wrong. But as we're going through this list, we come upon one word, and we dismiss ourselves. Say, that's not me. Because the parasite that gets inside of us, good people, is the parasite of greed. I'm not greedy. It's like people say, I got nothing to be greedy for. I'm broke. How does that even apply? There's nothing to be greedy for. Greedy, if you give me something, I could try to be greedy. And over the years of ministry, nobody has ever come to me and said, Pastor Dave, you know what the problem is? Greed is my downfall. That's what it is. I'm just a greedy dude. Nobody's ever said that. I've never had a wife come to me. You know what the problem with our marriage is? I'm just a greedy wife. No wife has ever said that. Now, gentlemen, shut up right now. Just don't say nothing. You will be dead before nightfall. And if that's what you die for, I'm not doing your funeral. It's just not going to happen. See, people say, I struggle with anger, I struggle with unforgiveness, but nobody's ever talked about greed. Why? Because it's just a sneaky thing to do, right? So that parasite gets inside, and it hides under the mask of good-sounding virtues. We kind of put it out there. So we rarely see disagreement. So here's the thing. People say, you know what? I'm just careful. I'm just careful. You can't trust everybody, right? We say things like, well, I'm a planner. You like to plan things out, just like to have it in front, or we say stuff like, well, I'm just being a good steward, just watching out for things, or I'm just trying to secure my future. Now here's the thing: there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with these good intentions. There's nothing wrong with being careful. There's nothing wrong with being a planner. There's nothing wrong with being a good steward. There's certainly nothing wrong with planning for the future. But the problem is this doesn't ask us the harder questions. So the harder question is a question of ownership. See, because if I own it, I control it. And if I control it, I get to decide what's what. But what if I don't own it? What if it's your $100 I'm going to the casino on? Like, no, hey, I'm feeling lucky. No! See, so it's a question of ownership. See, now, if somebody else owns it, then I'm subject to the owner, the real owner, right? Okay? And so now what we're talking about, when we talk about resources, we're in charge of basically three areas. Three areas. We're in charge of our wealth, we're in charge of our time, and we're in charge of our experiences. And it's funny when people say, wealth, what are you talking about wealth? If you have a dime, that's your wealth. You're in charge of that. You're in charge. So you're in charge of your wealth. So we get to manage that, right? Now what happens is, so we're in charge of those things, and these are the things that continually in our lives compete for first place. Our struggle with finances will always compete to be in charge of our life. Our struggle with our schedule will always compete to be in charge of our life, right? Our struggle with our experiences will always compete to be in charge of our life. And so with this competition, so when we're talking about greed's not an economic problem. Greed's a hard problem. It's a hard problem, right? And so, matter of fact, Jesus said it this way, Matthew chapter 6, verse 21. He goes, where your treasure is, that's where we find your heart. Because whatever is most important to you, that's what controls your heart, right? And so basically, what greed is wanting more of what we already have, even sometimes at the expense of what really matters. Okay, right? And that's because we're completely convinced it'll bring satisfaction. So these three resource streams in our life, our time, our experience, and our wealth, they make up our work, not our worth. This is what we do. It's not who we are. Am I getting through? Okay, so now when it comes to those three areas, wealth, time, and experiences, we describe those as mine. Everybody say mine. No, say it like you normally say it. Mine. Hey, can I have a bite of that sandwich? Mine. Hey, you can eat that French fry? Mine. So we describe those things as mine, okay? It's mine. I earned it. I worked for it. After all, I built this, so it just stands to reason. I'm going to do this. But see, God sees it completely different. It's in Psalms chapter 24, verse 1, where it says, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Therefore, my friends, we are managers of what God owns. So we're accountable for how that works, right? And so again, it's an ownership thing. Now, the way that everyday normal people like you and I get sucked into greed is because our wealth, our time, and our experiences become safety nets for insecurities. This is our answer to hurts and fears and stuff that's going on in our life. So we think if we can control our wealth, if we can control our schedule, we can control our experiences, then we will never find ourselves in hurtful places again. It's a protective barrier, right? And so what it is, we come up with a self-sustaining hope. Self-sustaining hope. That means that when we rest our hope in that, we get to control that. Now say, well, what's the problem with that? How many of us know that wealth is not always good hope? Excuse me, the boss might come sometimes, we're laying some guys off. Now, in fact, here's how it works. You guys how does it work? Well, things have not been great lately, having some trouble, and so I hate to say this, but we're going to have to lay a couple guys off. The reason they're telling you it's not inside information. Hey, I'm really glad you told me. That's not what he's saying. Because the next statement is, you're the dude. It's over. And so time, we know that sometimes we have these plans, and sometimes the schedule just doesn't come together at all. We have these experiences planned, and sometimes you don't get to do what you want to do. I know that's a surprise, right? And so people say, well, after all, it's my life. No, it's really not your life. The earth is the Lord and everything in it. So what happens is Jesus uses stories about our wealth, stories about our time, stories about our experiences to demonstrate how much control these areas can have over our hearts. And see, guys, this is not a surprise. You already know this. You already know how much control it can have over your life. Now, did you know that struggles financially are the number one cause of divorce? Did you know? Number one, right? Okay, because these things are subject to our circumstances. Now, so the easiest demonstration about our personal economy, when we're talking about our wealth, our time, and our experiences, the easiest demonstration is how we see our wealth. That's how we look at that. Matter of fact, that's what Jesus said. It reveals a lot this on the inside. Matthew chapter 6, verse 21, that whatever we treasure, that's what owns our heart, right? So it's really important. So now here's the deal. We need a plan for managing our economy so our economy doesn't manage us. See, sometimes we're playing life whack-a-mole. You know what I'm talking about? Stuff pops up. So you're taking a pile of cash and you move it around like you're playing the cup game, you know? So that's where, excuse me, our economy is managing us. We're not managing our economy. So we need a plan. Matter of fact, Proverbs chapter 21, verse 20 says this. A wise person develops a plan and follows it, but the foolish person has no plan at all. So we need a plan. Now most Christian financial counselors will recommend a 10-10-80 plan, where the first 10%, well, you give that to God, that demonstrate, God, I trust you. Proverbs 3:9, you're honoring the Lord with the first fruits of your possessions, and Malachi chapter 10, you're bringing all the tithes. So that demonstrates, okay, God, I trust you. I'm going to honor you. This is all there is. And so that engages God fully in your financial situation. The second 10%, well, you pay yourself. Cha-ching, yeah, all right. Now that's not play money. It's not mad money. It's not, hey, I'm gonna go take a trip to Vegas. That's not what it's for. What it is, you put it away. So you save for your future, and you let your money work for you instead of you just working for your money, right? And so the Bible talks about it in a whole bunch of places. And the 80%, well, that's what you do everything else with. So if you've been faithful and you've honored God, and you've taken care of yourself, and you paid your bills, you'll feel pretty good about stuff. And so if there's some left over, hey, go play a little bit. That's great. And so it's a great plan. Now here's the deal, right? People say, I can't do that. You don't know my bills. Like, Pastor Dave, that sounds really good, but you don't know. Say I make this much money and I got like this much bills, right? So here's the deal, okay? So your economy is managing you. You're not managing your economy. You don't have a problem with your standard of giving. You have a problem with your standard of living. You find yourself being a slave to making a brick that is unreasonable, where you have actually sacrificed your life, and you're giving up your life to make a living. That's just not smart, right? And so now, here's the deal. When we commit to that, we know that's a good plan. It's going to take a lot of work. You got to work at it. You got to start on it. It's going to take some planning and some strategy. It's going to take some sacrifice. And it's going to take some time. You can't just decide, okay, but dude, I'm in. I'm there. You got to work that. So you work yourself into trouble. You got to work yourself out of trouble. So that's now here's so we look at this and you say, you know what? That's a good plan. I like that. That'll really help things a lot. So we can just, okay, way to go. Come on. Let's dismiss. Got this. Now here's the problem. You're a spender. Yeah. Yeah, And I know you can blame it on somebody else, but you're a spender. We all got our stuff, right? So there's the impulsive spenders. Walking by a rack, 50% off. You don't need it, but it's 50% off. I can get a $200 suit for $100. I just saved you $100. Wait, did you spend $100? Or did you put $100 in the bank? Just to show you I'm an equal opportunity offender. You're walking through Costco. There's a TV. You're pre-approved. What? No payments for 6 months. Sign me up. Now you have no margin in your life. And you can't honor God, and you can't pay yourself. There's compulsive spenders, where you just got to itch, got to scratch. Got to spend some money. got some kind of a need, got to do some stuff, right? So they spend what they can't afford to buy what they don't need, and now they feel bad. And they can't honor God. They have no margins in life, and they can't pay themselves, right? Then there's the revenge spenders. These are my favorite people. You've been driving this piece of iron for a while. You know what I'm talking about? You know the car when you get in the morning and it's good for your prayer life? You put the key in the ignition, you rest your head on the steering wheel, go, God, please, please. You have the jumper cables on standby. You know the kind. So one day you've had it. That's it. You trade in the obese, my $50,000 SUV, 6 years of payments for $850 a month. I got revenge. Now you are truly in bondage. Boy, do you got to make brick. There's no margins. There's no freedom in your life. You can't honor God. You can't pay yourself. The boredom spenders. I have nothing to do, so I'm going to the mall. Dude, you got to get a hobby. Find something to do. Find some place to serve. How about you giving some of you away instead of some of your money away, right? Because you get yourself in a place where there's no margin, you can't honor God, you can't take care of yourself. Special interest spenders. These are mostly guys. You got this thing you do, this thing you have, this thing you like. You do pretty good most of the time, but you walk into Harbor Freight. Why do I got to be so hard? Okay, fine, I'll leave that alone. We'll call it Home Depot. The Snap-on truck drives by. You blow the budget. Okay? Now, there's no margins. You can't honor God, you can't take care of yourself. And last is the status spenders. Trying to keep up with people you don't even like. Isn't that amazing? I don't like them, I hate them, don't like nothing about them, but look what they got. Got to get me one of them. I'm going to show them. I'm going to put myself in so much trouble just to show them I can too. Does it sound bad when I say it that way? It starts when young, just kind of, here's the deal. I surrender. I give. My peers are going to pass me up. They're better, younger, faster, smarter. They have way more money, better opportunities. I surrender. I will never be able to keep up. I'm not going to put myself into bondage trying to keep up with people I don't even like. That doesn't make any sense. Right? I was born. God created me to live a life of freedom. So why would I make decisions concerning my personal economy with my wealth, my time, and my experiences? The sacrifices, the places in my life, so I'm strapped to a life that I can't even live. Doesn't make any sense. You know, God's plan for each of us is for us to stand on the shoulders of the previous generation. You knew that, right? Because when we stand on the shoulders and we learn the lessons of life, we don't have to relearn the same lessons the previous generation jacked up. Had one guy tell me one time, he goes, Pastor Dave, you just know this stuff, and man, I wish I was as smart as you. No, you don't. This hurts. So the next generation should learn not the same lessons, but they should learn our lessons. Standing on the shoulders to make us better. So we don't have to relearn the same lessons over and over again. See, now the problem is when our hope is in our personal economy of our wealth, our time, and our experiences, those are flimsy foundations, and they're subject to circumstances all the time. They normally don't hold up, and when they don't hold up, and that's where we communicated, this is where you put your hope, this is what's important, this is what really matters, and then it doesn't work. The next generation gets cheated. My friends, here's what I'm trying to say. Chase after the life that matters, not the life that is unstable. What are you putting all your efforts into? Where's it go to? See, it was the Moses generation that knew the Lord and his works. The Joshua generation only knew his works. And the Judges generation neither knew the Lord nor his works. When we don't learn the lessons, we lose a lot in the process. See, our story has got to be more than our wealth, our time, and our experiences. I don't want 10 years after I'm dead for somebody to say, well, hey, you remember Dave? Yeah, you know what? He was pretty good with money. That's terrible. Where's his money now? No idea. I think Jessica spent it all. Both dollars. I don't want them to say, you know what? Boy, that dude could manage his time. He's so good at time management. He's dead now, but he was good at the time. I don't want them to say when I'm done. I don't want them to say, you know, boy, he could really experience life. I want my story. I want my story to matter more than what I was worth, where I spent my time, and what I did. I want it to be who I am, because it matters so much more. Check this out. Anybody know what this is? Breaker bar, and this is a 3/4 inch socket. Socket's kind of chipped up, and it's rusted in a few places. And here's the sad part: this is the only one left in the set. The only one. And he goes, "Wow, that's special." This was my dad's. Yeah, this belonged to my dad. When I was a toddler, he went to work as an aircraft assembler for a company called Convair in San Diego. And he bought this set of tools in 1960 to make a living for his family. And if you look close, you see his initials are carved in it. LVM, Lon Victor Mast, my dad. And he gave me this. So it's not a big, see, if you don't know the story inside the story, your story won't be near as valuable. See, there's a story within your story. There's a story within the next generation. There's a story that you need to know. And if you can take the lessons learned from that story and apply them to the next story, your story becomes huge. It becomes God's plan. It becomes something powerful. It becomes a big deal. Standing on the shoulders, learning the lessons. Because it's not about wealth, not about time, it's not about experience. It's about the relationship. What good would it do a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul or family? See, my dad taught me the value of tools, how to use them, how important they were. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. He learned that value from his dad, my grandfather. Believe it or not, as odd as it sounds, I taught Jessica the value of tools. I taught Louie the value of tools. Matter of fact, I'm giving most of my tools to Louie because Louie is going to end up working on my stuff. And I get to say, hey, you did that wrong. It's just... we're going to teach Zeke the value of tools. See, because there's a story inside the story. And if you know the story inside the story, your story has more value. There's this story in Joshua chapter 4 where God's people, they come across the Jordan River, and God has done the miraculous where he held the whole river back, and all of God's people, they walked across the river on dry ground when it was overflowing its banks. And when they got in the middle of that river, God told those guys, I want you, when you're walking through the middle of this miracle, when you're walking through the middle of your miracle, when you're walking through what God is doing for you, on your way through, my friends, stop and pick something up. Pick up one of those rocks on your way out, carry them out to the other side, and I want you to stack up victory. I want you to remember that. I want that to be a memorial for all generations to come. This is what God did. Listen to me, listen to me. The rocks from the inside look way different than the rocks on the outside. Because the rocks from the inside that they took on the outside, out of the river, they looked different. They were smooth. He said, in generations to come, when your children ask, what does this weird stack of rocks, what does that mean? Let me tell you a story. You see, I want a story that has been proven. I want a story that's been polished. I want a story that's been perfected, that's been through the war. I want a story that's been through adversity and tough times. I want a story because you know what? I'm going to face some of the same things, and I need a story that's going to walk me through to the other side so I don't get stuck here. That's the value of the story. Here's what I'm saying. There's parts of your story that have huge value that you don't even think about. If you want to get through the rivers that are blocking you, take something from your miracle and carry it with you to the other side, and watch what God does for the likes of somebody like you. Is this making sense yet? See, that's how you keep the story alive, because God's writing new chapters. I gotta tell myself. Hey, that fell off. Yeah, it's funny when I do this, the guys in the sound room, they're freaking out trying to get my attention. I can't see anything. So I apologize. If you said bad words about me, you're probably going to go to hell for that. Or other things. But I forgot all about this. I did. I forgot I even had it. It's the only one left in the set. And as I was preparing and studying and praying for today, God reminded me of my legacy. So I went to an old abandoned toolbox that I have, because I don't throw away nothing. I need a couple friends here. Come on now, help me out. Hey guys, you'll never know when God's going to use that. Ha ha, Loretta, ha ha. But I felt bad that I forgot the story. So I dug it out, and it looked bad. It was rusted, and it was skanky dirty, you know. I spent a lot of time cleaning this up, because this story has value to me. Because I'm standing on top of his shoulders to reach higher, so that the next generation doesn't have to relearn the same lessons that I struggle with. Your story has value. Let me end with this. There was in the early 1900s, there was a little girl. And she came home from school one day, and then in school they were singing some songs, and she said, "Mommy, I want to be a singer." Just a little midget, you know. I want to be a singer. And so her and her mom used to sing these songs together, just have a great time singing these songs. Because she wanted to be a singer. When I grow up, Mom, I'm going to be a singer. Well, she was still young. Her mom passed away. Her dad remarried. And she told her new mom, "I want to be a singer." But her new mom was very rigid personality. You know what I'm kind of talking about. And she said, "We don't have time for such foolish things." And she made the little girl stop singing, because we have things to do. Time passed. Little girl grew up. She got married, had kids, grandkids. And in her last year, she was in a rest home, aged and unhealthy. And during the whole time she was in a rest home, never uttered a single word. Her family would try to work with her, encourage her to say something, and she never said a word. And they would spend hours and hours with her and not a single word. The staff would try to get her to talk, and nothing. But the morning after she passed away, her granddaughter came to gather her things. And she's weeping and gathering her grandmother's things. A nurse walked in and she said, "Can I ask you something?" The nurse said, "Sure, go ahead." Did she ever say anything? The nurse said, "Well, no, I'm sorry, she didn't." She said, "Nothing ever? Nothing?" No, she never said anything. "Well, you know, last night, just before she passed, she did start singing. She died with the song still inside." Friends, God has this great plan for your story. God has this great vision for your life. And the stuff of life sometimes can beat that out of us. Anybody know what I'm talking about? The pressures and the discouragements and the failures and the things that have happened to us. Sometimes it can quiet our story. It can stop the song inside from coming to the outside. Something gets on the inside that's destroying the man or the woman on the outside. Here's what I'm saying for you and I. Don't let the song die inside. It's time for the children of God to rise up, carry that victory out to the other side, and be who God wants you to be. Could I get you to close your eyes and bow your heads for just a moment, please? Just a couple of things I want to ask you today. Number one, the drudgeries, the pressure, the things of life, the busyness has caused you to forget who you're supposed to be. And your priorities are all jacked up. And you're telling yourself, you know what, I want to get back on track. If that's you and I'm talking to you, all I want you to do right now, just slip your hand up real quick and put it right back down. Well, thank you guys, thank you. Dozens of people. So you know what, I've got so focused on the wrong things, I forgot the important things. Show me your hand real fast, come on. Thank you guys, thank you. Second question. Discouragements, failures, setbacks, hurt feelings, abuse. It can destroy the dream inside. Those things can tell you that opportunity has passed, that time is over. That wasn't even real. That's not who you are anymore. My friend, the dream is still inside the dreamer. So if you've had those things try to steal the dream away from you, while every head is bowed, everybody's eyes are closed here for just a moment. You know I'm talking to you. Just simply raise your hand right up real quick, right back down. Thank you. Come on now. I know you're thinking about it. Come on now. There's still more. Come on. I know there's more. Come on. The stuff of life has tried to beat the dream out of you. Come on now. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Could you all stand this morning, please? It's so good to be among God's people, isn't it? I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Check this out. I've been in here when you're not here. Not even close to the same. It's way better when you're here. Way better. You know why? Because when we gather with God's people, we become stronger. We become better. Right? So this morning we want you to walk out. Number one thing, we want you to walk out encouraged and strengthened. We want you to leave this building and think, you know what? Yeah. Let's do this. Because your story is more important than just your wealth, your time, and your experiences. You got a life. Now you're going to live this life to the full. See, the devil think he's got you beat down? Let's show him something. Right? Remember the Rocky movies? Yeah, you know. I never understood that where he says, hit me again. It's like, why? Stop. We're going to rise up. We're going to rise above this stuff and be the men and women that God created us to be. Because your story matters. Okay?